sorry about that one. Time Spook here, and I just got something quick to show you guys, and you'll see at the beginning of the video here. This is the Barnett LIL Banshee. See that there, guys? And this is just a little kind of a target bow, guys, but I've been landing some pretty wicked shots with it, and I think definitely this would be something very lightweight that you could bring along with you, and a quiver full of the arrows that I'll show you here in a second, and you know, take a little bit of game for a very inexpensive price of under about 40 bucks for this thing, guys. I was able to pick this up at Canadian Tire here in Canada, but I've also seen them at Walmart. I've seen them at, you know, Bass Pro Shops when I went there, Cabela's, pretty much any hardware store. Actually, I believe, now that I think of it, I think I even got this at Home Hardware here in Canada. I actually don't even think I got it. I looked at them at Canadian Tire, and I believe I actually bought this at a hardware store here in Canada. So they're very readily available. They've got a couple different versions. This one is more like a sort of the target one, but again, we'll take, you know, game if you needed to. And then there's one that is more of a compound type bow. This to me is more like target, but it has some oomph to it. But the other one's set up different with different curves on it and a bigger wheel and just all this stuff. And like I said, I'm going to reiterate one thing that I've said before, guys. I am no expert on bows or anything. This is just something I'm looking at myself and saying I want to share that because it's inexpensive, readily available, and it will kill stuff if you need to in a survival situation. I do not, you know, recommend going out in the neighborhood and shooting all the robins off the telephone pole, or, you know, going out and shooting this towards anybody or anything like that. I'm just saying, in a pinch, this is something you could use and, you know, take some game if you had to. But I'm going to grab the arrow because I stuck it here a minute ago, and then I'll come back with you and I will show you the arrow setup that I have for just target shooting. Here I am back, guys, and what we did here, my son and I, is these are, and I think I have the number. Yeah, these are 1/4 inch by 36 inch dowels that are, you know, you can get at any hardware store, or, you know, I got these, I believe, at Canadian Tire. And these little nocks right here are mossy oak arrow nocks, and these are about $5 for a dozen of them. And why I have the Gorilla Tape here is for shock, basically, and to hold it on there. You could use a lot of stuff to do it, but Gorilla Tapes work perfect. And this particular arrow, even itself, and it's starting to get a little bit flimsy, but not too bad. Sort of at the end where it's been hitting, but it's still pretty good. We fire hardened it a little bit, but not like for hours. We just kind of ran it through for a few minutes, and it did help, and especially the tip. It's been carved off where it was all black, but that tip was right black, guys, and that was hitting very well, never broke or anything like that. So I got these for very cheap. The Gorilla Tape's cheaply had, the dowels are cheaply had. So then you could get a dozen of these arrows, guys, for, you know, geez, probably $10 or $12 if you could, you know, get the arrow knock and whatnot. And they work really well. With this little Banshee, they are easy to flip it up the right way, guys. It probably help, wouldn't it? That's me, professional bowyer here. But that will go right into your knock area there, and it goes in between those two pieces of rubber that are right here, and then that holds that in there. And you can actually walk through the woods like this, which I did, and then if you're going along and you wanted it cocked so you could go and kind of fire at something, then you've already got it cocked. You don't have to try to grab the arrow out of the quiver, because I'm going to make it. This is going to be a sort of a part 1 video, even though it's not going to say part 1, because I'm going to make up a little setup to go with this bow. We lost the 2 arrows it came with, guys. It didn't take long. Number 1 tip, if you're going to be out with a 10 or 11-year-old kid shooting this thing, get something in the background that will stop the arrow. Don't just let it fire, and then, you know, because it shoots pretty hard. So, but again, at the beginning I showed you it'll shoot pretty well. I just did a couple quick shots. And but like I said, guys, LIL Banshee by Barnett. You know, I made these arrows myself. They're nothing special, but they do work, and these would take game. You could get a broadhead attached to that. You could just shave it down and attach the broadhead. But one thing I will say, guys, this bow is about as strong as you want to fire a projectile like this, because they'll split them right in half. And then that can go into your forearm, and then you've got a worse situation than looking for a squirrel. Then you've got this thing stuck in your forearm. So this is about the dowel that you would, you know, the limit that you would want. You could even go a little bit bigger, and I think it would still shoot it fine, because it would sit on its ridge here. But like I said, guys, LIL Banshee by Barnett, $40 little tool. I got it very easily at a hardware store here. You know, got the mossy oak arrow nocks, you know, $5 for a dozen of them, and some Gorilla tape, and away you go. At the very least, you've got a cool little target, you know, target rig. But you can take game with these, no problem, guys, and that's more what I'm looking at. Something I could throw in my pack or have it stashed somewhere and then grab it if I needed it and the stuff really hit the fan or something was going on and I needed to get some game, and not have to worry about bullets, and not have to worry about you know, firing off a gun and giving off a position to people either. Another thing with this too, guys, is the arrows. As long as you have these nocks, I'm almost 100% you could fashion some, and I may try to do that without having a dowel and all that. Just take the arrow nocks, go out, carve something up, heat treat it, and away you go. But I'll show you one more time, maybe, if I can here, shooting it. Went right through the cardboard that time. Great little bow, guys. Check one out. They're inexpensive and they do the job. Take her easy, guys. Spook signing out. Keep your stick on the ice.